What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MetsUp podcast. We have, of course, a lot to talk about, but the main focus of today's episode is going to be the most important player for the New York Mets this season, the 2025 season, undoubtedly, Kodai Senga. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast already. We know that in spring training, there are a lot of eyes and a lot of pressure on him, but with good reason. Especially with the injuries to this pitching staff, Kodai Senga becomes the most important player on this team. The Mets kind of live or die right now with Kodai Senga. That could change a lot of how this season looks, and we're going to talk about it. But before we do, make sure you are following us on all our social media, MetsUp on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you have not yet seen the YouTube channel, go subscribe over there, MetsUp Podcast. You can see the video version of this. We got videos with Daniel Murphy that are either out or coming out already at some point. We have Zach Scott coming on the show as well. We have so many great interviews and content coming at you, so make sure you are subscribed over there. And if you like to listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. But James, Kodai Senga, we saw him pitch the other night. What makes him the most important player on this team, just first and foremost?
Yeah, like a full week ago at this point, but it's just the fact that this Mets pitching staff is getting hit hard early. The fact that we've already lost Sean Manaea. He might be back kind of soon, but you never like to see a muscle injury to a premier pitcher on your staff in February. And the Frankie Montas injury too. Not a lot of good feelings about it. He's not even reported he's close to throwing yet. So when you look at those two guys being hurt, when you look at this Mets team from last year and you see the fact that we got, I don't know what it was, like 550 innings between the Jose Quintana, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino trio, and none of those guys are going to be on this opening day roster. And you only got 5 regular season innings from Kodai last year, about 13, 14 in total with the playoffs. You realize that he is the guy that has to step up and fill this void. Because behind Kodai, we still have David Peterson, who looks like there's a step to be taken. Tyler McGill, who we are going to be confident about in this podcast until we're blue in the face. And past that, it's a lot more just question marks. Like, he is the guy he's the true X factor. Like, if something goes wrong with the lineup, either something is a catastrophe with one of our superstars, or it's something like, Nimble's banged up, or like maybe Viento's having a sophomore slump. But the rest of the lineup is always going to be good enough to at least weather any storm. I think that happens as long as only one of those guys, if anything bad were happen to them. Where Kodai right now is on the razor's edge, and he's on the precipice of someone that could be legitimately, as we saw in 2023, a true ace. Or someone who can barely pitch, as we saw last year. And if anything in between would be okay, but this team gets the closest to their potential and right up to their ceiling with Kodai having another season like he did in 2023.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about World Series or anything like that because I think that's way too far ahead. We got to right now focus on just being the best team in the National League East. That's the best way to get into the playoffs and give yourself a run at the World Series. And if the Mets want to win the division, Kodai has to be 2023 Kodai. Like, I think people forget how disgustingly good he was in that season. He finished 7th in the Cy Young Award that year, 2nd in Rookie Year, was an All-Star, was worth around like 4.5 wins according to Baseball Reference War. I think even a little bit more.
His ERA started with it too.
Yeah, his ERA was 2.98. The whip was low. He was striking out. He struck out over 200 batters in 166 innings. Like, he was. It sucks because 2023 was such a waste of a year and there was such nothingness that happened that season. But he was so vastly important, and even in the one start he made in the regular season last year, the Mets made the playoffs by 1 game. That game against the Atlanta Braves that he pitched when he made his one appearance, the 5 1/3 innings, 9 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 home run. Like, that was a difference maker in that game. It doesn't seem like it, but if you put that game in September, you're talking about one of the greatest starts that you'll ever remember of Kodai Senga. But because it happened earlier in the year, kind of gets forgotten. This guy has the ability to completely change the outlook of this team. So if we can get, let's even take it back a notch, just a little bit worse than 2023 Kodai. If we can get like 3-5 and 150 innings out of Kodai this year, that is just so insanely huge for this roster.
If we get 150 innings from Kodai Senga this year, I'll be on my hands and knees thanking the greater powers above.
You don't think we get that?
It's hard to expect that because you look at his before he came to the U.S., last season in the NPB, he threw 140. First season in the U.S., he threw 160. Last year, he threw 15 total. Would you, think about it, how much could you realistically expect? 120? 140, I think, is the ceiling? Like, there's such a limitation on what he can do, especially when we have Tim Healy on the show last week. He talks about the fact that Kodai Senga has been dealing with shoulder soreness his whole life. He said he basically has never felt good going back to high school. And the fact that there's been some kind of push and pull with him, not push and pull with the Mets, but there's been, the way that Tim described it was that there's like a weird situation going on right now with Kodai's health where He ended last season pitching, so you assume he's healthy. Then apparently he comes to camp not ready to pitch yet. And maybe that's just him being meticulous, that's him being a perfectionist, but that is not the most comforting thing to hear from the guy that is the absolute lightning rod of this team.
No, when Tim said that, my heart kind of sunk a little bit, and I was like,
my eyes bugged out of my head.
I was like, what do you mean? One, that the Mets weren't really sure what was going on last year with Kodai. Like, what are we talking about? And then two, like, to be flabbergasted and shocked that he wasn't ready to go coming out of spring, like, that is definitely concerning. But also maybe this is part of the reason why Kodai got the contract that he did, and that was one thing that we were taking as a major positive last year was, hey, sucks that he's not pitching this year, but now we have him for the next couple seasons for absolutely free. Maybe this is why that contract was like that.
Yeah, what Mark's talking about is the fact that in Kodai's initial deal with the Mets, that a lot of people did think was a little bit on the cheap side. It got blown out of the water by Shota Imanaga from the Cubs, too, who just makes $9 million and last year was one of the best pitchers in baseball. But Kodai had an opt-out clause where if he would have hit, I believe it was 400 or 500 innings over the first 3 years of that deal. And people were like, oh, that's a smash. Of course a pitcher's going to do that. But then you saw last year, you have chronic shoulder issues. That doesn't happen. So now we do have Kodai for the full 5 years of this contract. And that's the issue. That's why this is so tantalizing, because you can see the upside. You can see the downside. Even his first spring training game, if you go back a little bit over a week now, he's throwing a new sinker that looks amazing. The thing that kind of took him to the next level as a rookie in quote air quotes because he was a professional baseball player for a long time in Japan, was when he brought in that cutter to kind of to bridge his repertoire together, because he didn't really have a feel for the sweeper. It was the fastball and the ghost fork, nothing really in between them. And then he brings in that pitch and you're like, oh, this is someone who can do a lot of good now. And that from when he started throwing that pitch at the end of the year, he was arguably one of the three or four best pitchers in baseball. But from June on, it was like, 16 out of 18 starts. We went at least 6 innings, almost the whole season. He didn't give up more than 4 runs in an individual start. It was just on from that moment. And last year, he made 3 starts the entire season. Braves, Phillies, Dodgers. Like, we literally saved him on ice for the 3 best teams. And 2 of those 3 starts were really, really good. We know the last one is the one that was really bad, and that's the one people remember a little bit. But it's so, you look at this guy and you realize what he can be, and you realize he is exactly what this team needs right now. He's exactly the thing that can change our fortunes. And I don't want to say it's a painful proposition, but it's one that definitely gives me it doesn't give me the best feeling in my stomach, but it also makes me hopeful. Yeah, it does give me lagina.
Yeah. It's going to be so bizarre. I mean, I will say all the projection systems right now that you can see on FanGraphs, the lowest that they have him for projected innings going into the season is 138, and that's from Zips. They have him going as high as 163 from Steamer. So that is probably the range that he lives in with a healthy season. You can't predict injuries or anything like that, but that's probably the range he lives in.
Oh, I think that those are a little bit generous. But 2, then if you go the other side to the ERAs he's projected right now, we talked about this a little bit with Kodai. There's a chance that we don't really know his true talent in the major leagues yet. Because, again, he picked up that color and that changed him as a pitcher. But then there could be bounce back to the league. I think he's still really good because when that pitch happened, but his projected ERA is kind of span between 3.4 and 3.9. And I do think that's a good bet for where he is. Again, we say he had that 2.98 ERA. He was one of the best pitchers in the NL. He was still walking a lot of guys. He was really good at kind of bearing down stranded guys on base. His home run rate was a little bit low, but I think it will always be a little bit low. That's why picking up the sinker this year could be really good. He can get another weapon against the righties. He can get more ground balls. But there's so many different outcomes that Kodai Senga can have this year. And I have a feeling that this Mets team's regular season record could be directly correlated to the production that we get from Kodai Senga, truthfully.
I mean, yeah, they need him. He's their frontline guy, and especially with Manaea missing the month early, it's going to be so weird, this rotation, the first month of the season. Like, we're going to have Kodai, who's, like you said, threw 15 innings last year. Whenever he's ready coming back to throw innings, it's probably still going to be pretty limited early on. I don't think we're going to see any long, deep starts from a guy like Kodai Senga in April. Manaea is eventually going to come back, hopefully at the end of April, maybe more so the beginning of May. He's going to have to come back a little bit slowly too, unless he gets crazy ramped up in spring. Clay Holmes is going from reliever to starting pitcher. We saw him throw 67 pitches in his last start in spring training. They're still trying to stretch his arm out. Then you have guys like Griffin Canning and Tyler McGill and Dave Pearson, like, it's going to be a little bit of chaos to start the year.
This is what I'm saying. Someone has to be a horse because we're going to push that bullpen hard early. And you push your bullpen hard early, they get tired earlier too. So then we need the pitchers to become the horses midway through the season. But midway through the season, the guys who are healthy now, by then one of them's going to be injured, of course, because that's how pitching works. So it's like there's going to be such a meticulous, careful process here. And it helps the Mets a lot if Kodai Senga can give them 90, 100 pitches with full health in April and May. It changes everything. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that.
Do you think
then
he will?
Again, this thing all comes back to Tyler McGill then, like it always does. Like every single conversation, it comes right back to Tyler McGill.
Is he always the most important player? Is this back to our original YouTube video that we did when we didn't do like just a podcast episode and we're like, Tyler McGill is the X factor for the Mets?
He's the most important player that's not Kodai Senga, I think. He might be, maybe David Peterson too, maybe the combination of those guys because they've been joined at the hip for their entire career. They're born 1 month apart, which is even crazy between Peterson and McGill, 2 months apart. But
that's nuts.
Kodai, it becomes such a careful dance, and that's where I get the fear. I don't like that the person who's being considered our ace, who does have by far the highest upside of any pitcher on our roster, it's a careful dance. Maybe that's just his own meticulousness. Maybe that's just because he's being careful about how last year kind of spiraled out of control. But it seems like right now, it's not as easy as I wish it was for Kodai Senga to be on the mound on opening day and us be cheering for him.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought we would have seen more than one appearance in a spring training game.
And a backfield. He pitched in the backfield too. He pitched in the backfield as well.
But I'm saying in games that matter, in front of people, the adrenaline pumping, I would have liked to have seen Kodai a little bit more, just from a feel-good standpoint. I trust the Mets know what they're doing. It's not like a doubting the process thing by any means here. It's just more so for me to feel good as a Mets fan. I wish I could see Kodai Senga on the physical mound more
with my
than
eyes
hearing about him in the backfield. Yeah, I want to see it in a game.
FT fam, if you love ripping packs of cards, there is a modern way to do that now on Arena Club with their slab packs. And Kratz, I know you love ripping slab packs and getting that sweet card that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through all the other ones, all the Kratz cards that are in there. Bang, you just get the big one, the one that you're just peeking right around the corner when you open that pack, the one you expect to get.
Also, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. You'll get an instant offer of 90% of the estimated value, so you can accept it on the spot, simple, fast, and risk-free. Use that cash to buy more slab packs, and you can get your cards officially graded by Arena Club. So go check it out right now, FT fam. You can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and then use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL. Code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Get after it, FT fam.
And on top of that, another part that's weird, not weird because this season will probably be like this for the Mets, which is another level of complication. There was 7 days in between those starts. He had 6 days of rest. Well, the first was March 3rd, and the second was March 9th. So 6 days, which is, again, that's his normal range. But we're going to have to do that too. We're going to need a 6-man rotation. And it probably is good for these guys to have more off days. But again, that stress on the bullpen, that stress on Reed Garrett, that stress on Max Kranick, who's going to be a long man, Jose Budo. Like, those are going to be the guys between Kranick and Budo who are going to have to give us 2 or 3 innings, sometimes twice a week each, to be able to bridge this gap. Blackburn's going to be in the 6-man rotation. We're going to have a 6-man. Again, we have a couple off days early, and we probably push Kodai to not be starting as the first guy of the season just so we can give him a couple more off days baked in. But once we get to April 20th and we're playing baseball every single day, like the season's in full swing, you're going to have, as long as everyone is good from then till now, Kodai Senga, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, and Paul Blackburn. And a lot of people probably aren't really that thrilled with 3, 4, possibly 5 of those names, depending on who you are as a Mets fan. Possibly 6 of those names because of the fear we're instilling on Kodai Senga right now. So it's going to be such a careful dance, and there's going to be so much stress and pressure, specifically on Kodai and Peterson at the top as the guys who've done it in the major leagues as a starter for a full season. I guess Canning and Blackburn too, and then McGill. It's so bizarre right now. Like I trust David Stearns, Jeremy Hefner, Eric Yeagers to the ends of the earth. Like I'm following them into battle, but this is gonna be a real battle in April and May.
It's so crazy. The good thing is we don't play like the Phillies or Braves early in the season either, right? We played them more so in the middle of the year. I'm pretty sure with our MLB our horrible schedule, we don't play them until probably August, if it makes sense.
I'll do the James Shiano yearly bashing of the Major League schedule, especially the Mets. We don't play the Braves until the middle of June, so just enough time for Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna to get back and be healthy. But it is that we do have a little bit of time early in the season. I think 7 of our first 15 games are against the Marlins, so we have that hopefully to ease us into the stretch. But it's going to be a battle. Like Mets fans, you thought last April and May were bad. Like I don't think it's going to be that bad, but you're going to have to get your stomach ready for this rotation. How creative we're going to have to be to get through these innings.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Kodai Senga's shoulders to be back because we need him so badly. He is the X factor for this team. The offense is great. We know that. That's not where our questions are at. It's on the pitching side, and it starts and ends with Kodai Senga. Need him back, especially with all these injuries. Anything else here to talk about, James, or about to wrap it up?
That's good. That's the X Factor episode. Kodai Senga, this year's Mets X Factor.
There it is, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure you are subscribed to the MetsUp Podcast YouTube channel. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You could subscribe to James's YouTube channel. What is it called?
It's James Shiano, just my name. Perfect.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you all on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.